Wide Web. Welcome to the Hanging with Web show right here on HWWS Web TV. If you're here for the first time, hit subscribe. If you're not here for the first time, but you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe. If you've already subscribed, but you haven't smashed the little bell over there so you're notified whenever we have a new interview or a new show here on the channel, hit the bell. Come on back over and over again because we've got artists, authors, filmmakers, musicians, creative minds of all kinds. And right now we are hanging out with author and writer Joe Lafferty, the author of Just in Time. Justin, time. Justin, one word, name, capital. Figure it out. It's in the description down below, along with some links. Joe, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us today, man.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
We really appreciate it. Let's start here with Just in Time and talk a little bit about what's going on here. Where was your inspiration for writing this, and what can we expect from Just in Time?
Well, hold on. So I need to start a little ways back.
Okay.
When I was 8 years old, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And when you have to beat back...
That's a little ways, by the way. He didn't get, not like last year. That's
no.
8 years old.
1981. So, and that kind of set me on a path. And, I have an Italian mother and an Irish father. And my mother's the fighter and my dad is this steadfast guy. So, when you have a 70% chance of survival, those are great odds if you're a gambler. But when you're dealing with your child's life, you're a father. That sucks.
That really does suck.
But they put on their best salesman face and told me, hey, you can beat this. And my mother said, you can fight. And my dad said, listen, you can't fight every day, but don't lose ground. Just stay in one place. When you need to rest, rest. So 2 years of very, very aggressive chemotherapy led to insulin-dependent diabetes at age 13. I still played high school and college football, and I did well. I couldn't enter the military. That was my dream back then, was to go to the Naval Academy. But they wouldn't take me because I was an insulin-dependent diabetic. So I played small college football and then went pro in sports business, working for 3 Division I athletic programs, the Orange Bowl in Miami.
That's fantastic.
And the Dallas Cowboys.
That is awesome. And I know times change. Time does this funny thing to our memory. So I will remind everybody that when we're talking about the early 80s, when someone diagnoses you with any cancer, they've just given you a death sentence. In the 1970s, 1980s, that was as close as you can get to, guess what, your son's not going to make it, 70%, as you said. And here you are all these years later, having had a career and success. That's an amazing story.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, I love that.
Please throw that in there. Go ahead, I want to hear you do it.
But wait, there's more. Here he is. Joe Lafferty, he's still here. First of all, there's amazing. Just make the face, he's still here. And there's more. So
at 29, I was working in Dallas, and I was helping a friend and got a bad scratch on the side of my head. Being a diabetic, I didn't fight off the infection well. And I contracted a staph infection. It spread to my eye, and I went to the hospital and had a decision to make. And I told them to give me 5 minutes, and it was either take out my eye or risk waiting a couple days. And if the staph infection goes to your brain, that's lights out, you're gone. So I said, give me 5 minutes, and they left for 5 minutes, and they came back, and they said, well, and I said, praise God and take my eye, because I wanted to praise at that moment, because we don't praise in the worst times, and that was the lowest. So it took out my eye, moved back to Pittsburgh, which had become a medical mecca after the steel industry moved out. And that was good timing for me because things were about to get bad.
Wait. You got the right attitude when you're telling a story, and after you take out your eye, and after you've had lymphoma, now things are about to get bad.
So my organs started to fail. I had a pulmonary embolism, which is a deadly blood clot, and my kidney failed. I immediately had high blood pressure and my cholesterol shot up. I'd always been a pretty healthy guy, being an athlete and just staying in shape. But everything was going wrong, and I realized I needed a kidney transplant, and Pittsburgh is another mecca for organ transplants. And I went to the local hospital, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and the Starsville Clinic, and they said, well, you need a kidney. And that's a long process getting evaluated. And when it went to get me on the list, they said, well, something's wrong with your heart. So we need more of a workup on your heart. Come to find out, I had 2 leaky heart valves, and they would need to be replaced before I got on the transplant list. So in July 2008, I was given 2 steel heart valves on a Friday in mid-July, coming up on the anniversary. 3 days later, on Monday, I flatlined, which is fancy talk for I died.
Yeah, that's kind of, bad day.
Beep, beep, beep. 7 minutes.
7 minutes?
7 minutes
Wow.
it took the lifesavers and awesome people there to bring me back. Laid on the cold bed for 2 days. I didn't know any of this. I remember signing for the anesthesia Friday morning and waking up 6 days later in cardiac ICU and started questioning my father, who was sitting there, why he was in the recovery room, which is where you go right after surgery. You go to recovery room. I thought it was still Friday. We argued about what day it was.
Yeah, I came out of a basic hernia surgery after about, 4 hours. After 4 hours, I was disoriented, and it felt like it was 5 minutes ago, and I couldn't, time didn't seem relevant. For the next 2 days, I was, because you're on all the medication and whatnot.
Sure.
So I can't imagine spending 6 days after, losing consciousness is bad enough. Losing breath and brain function for 7 minutes. 6 days later, waking up. The jumble that is life at that moment has got to be terrifying.
Yes, so my mother started questioning me, like, do I remember this? Do I remember that? They're trying to gauge my brain function. And finally I just said, Mom, I remember everything except those 6 days. I remember my birthdays. I remember things that happened. And 39 days later, the picture on the cover of the book, I flew with the high school football team that I was helping coach, and we flew back to Dallas and played a game in Texas Stadium. I probably shouldn't have done it. It was 109 it was late August, and it was very hot in Texas.
Yeah.
It's 109 on the turf at Old Texas Stadium.
Wow.
And I probably shouldn't have done it again, but I did, and I got through it. Later that year, in November, I was listed on the transplant list, and 15 months after that, I got the call that I was going to get a kidney and a pancreas.
So you got all new parts.
Well, some artificial.
Yeah.
I also have a battery that runs every beat of my heart. So, but I got these organs from a very important person in my life who I've never met. His name was Justin. He was a 16-year-old boy who sustained a massive head trauma and then was declared brain dead, which is how you become a deceased donor. And his family, while in the depths of grief, made a life-changing decision for me, not knowing me. They just wanted to do the right thing, and they wanted Justin to live on.
That's amazing. Wow, guys, what a truly blessed life to have lived. Just to have lived, which is, I think, so much of the time we tend to focus on the things that we want, on the things that we have or do not have. And one of the things I think a lot of us forget to give thanks for, or to be thankful at all for, is just life. For every minute, for every breath that we take. And you've had a series of unfortunate events that have really made you appreciate those breaths in and out, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And you know what I found, because if you read the book or if you look me up, I've lived a life that any sports fan especially football, would want to live. Having coached young men who've gone on to the NFL. When I worked in college sports 2 or 3 different times, I got to talk to Dick Vitale and work with him before a basketball game for something he was doing with a school that I was representing.
Oh, wow.
I got to meet these people who are legends in sports. And, I even like Forrest Gump, I tripped over people. I was tending bar in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was on a Sunday, and the patio was, closed until later in the day. But these 2 guys came in and walked out to the patio, and I said, I have to go wait on them. And I went out, and this guy took off his sunglasses, and I turned into Beavis and Butthead with a face. And then I said,
millennials, you won't get that joke,
go look
but it's
up,
funny. Look it up.
So I carded him. I said, I'm going to need to see some ID, guys. And he said, you really need to card me? And I said, well, I'm supposed to, but I know who you are. and because he took off his sunglasses, and I've never even met any celebrities. Sunglasses actually hide a lot.
They do. They
But
do.
ladies, you'll know this. When he took off his glasses and I looked into his eyes, I went, "Oh my gosh, you're Ethan Hawke." And he and his friend had been driving across the country doing the Route 66 thing, and they came to see Graceland in Memphis, and they were getting a beer and some lunch, and his friend said, "You're going to believe he's Ethan Hawke." And I said, "Well, yeah, he looks like him. I'm sure he is." And he pulled out his ID, and I checked it, and it was him. And I just let them have their lunch, but I had that quiet moment with him. So my life's been like that, with moments that I just tripped over, like Forrest Gump. But I realized from what you said is right, is the blessings have been the struggles, learning from them and coming back and being able to inspire people. That's truly the blessing.
It is, because I think, like I said, we just look past these things, and I like I said, I would love, those moments that we have here on set when a celebrity sits down and we do an interview. Those are great moments, and they're fun for me, and it's a moment of geekdom where you just kind of geek out. Oh my God, look who's here.
Oh yeah.
But then it's the moments in between, and the moments when things aren't so good, and the moments when I look around and I realize I do what I love to do with people I enjoy meeting and being inspired by, in an environment that's full of other creative people. Does it get better than that? But so many people don't realize how special that is. And with, having to go through the struggles that you've had since you were a child, those breaths in and out in between the Ethan Hawke story and losing an eye, that middle ground in between is that's sacred earth, because it's distance you've traveled. And it's an amazing thing to see. And it's amazing to see you sharing it with people so that they can understand that.
Thank you.
Because again, it is, most people would hear the Ethan Hawke story and wow, that's big enough. That's impressive enough. And then they hear the, I was going to lose my eye story, and they're like, wow, that's sad. And they don't realize that the earth that's traveled in between is, there was no guarantee that you'd have that distance. And you got to feel that so many times in your life. There's a part of me that wonders if the universe thought you might have had a learning disability, because they taught you the same lesson several times in progressively worse ways.
Well, a friend once shared a meme with me, and it said, God only gives us what we can handle. And God must think I'm
Superman.
a member of SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, that's because he just keeps piling it on, brother.
Well, and I have to, real quick, I want to jump in and say it wasn't just me. I know how to ask for help. That's one thing you learn when you face down cancer at 8 years old. You learn how to ask for help. So over my lifetime, there have been periods, obviously, where I needed others, and you can't be too proud. And when a doctor says you need to stay in the hospital another 6 days, you can't fight him. You just need to accept that help. You have to ask for help. There's a good part of a good section of the book I like, because I was having mental health problems while waiting for a transplant. I kind of had pre-survivor's guilt, and I was blessed to have the ability to ask someone for help, and I got some mental health help, and it was just 10 sessions with a guy talking things through, because I worried that someone else has to die so I can live. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want anyone else to die. I don't want anyone to die. But if someone's going to die and I'm going to live and I'm going to get his or her organs at that point, that was a lot to deal with. Mm-hmm. I've been through a lot. I'd rather die than someone else have to die to make me live.
Yeah.
And he explained to me that that's not how it works. He pointed out that's not how it works.
It's not a trade. It's not an either or. Whatever's going to happen to me is going to happen to me. Mm-hmm. And for Justin, I'm sure, and for his family who was mourning, and that you have to know what was going to happen to Justin was going to happen to Justin, and it was up to Justin's family and up to Justin himself to decide what to do with that. And that decision in that moment, that very special moment for them to make a decision that Justin would live on because you would get to live because of that moment. It's an incredible thing, and I don't want to hop on the soapbox too much here on the show, but I do want to remind everybody out there make those decisions and think about those things. Those when you fill out those organ donor cards, when you're looking around, when you're in the driver's DMV deciding what check the box or don't check the box. Guys, think about that.
Please.
Think about those moments in time when what's going to happen to me is going to happen to me. It's going, one way or another.
Yes.
The universe has a wonderful irony to it that I don't control any of it. I pick my path and I move down it, and what's going to happen is going to happen. But every choice I make along that path could have an impact on my neighbors and my community. Justin's decisions certainly did. And not only do you get to live on through that, but we get to enjoy the inspiration that you can bring us through your book because of that moment. And we wouldn't have that. We would never be able to pick this book up and hear your story and be inspired by it without Justin's one moment of clarity.
Well, and that's why it's the name Just in Time. I'm a Christian, and I'm proud to be a Christian, and that's for me. Anybody can be whatever they want to be. But I'm a Christian, and I'm not responsible for Justin's soul. That's not here anymore. But to me, I am responsible for the time given to me by Justin. So I believe God knows I'm a marketing guy by trade, and that's why it's Justin, because I live my life on time given to me by Justin.
That's fantastic.
Hence the title is Just in Time.
I love it. It is, and we are glad that you have had Just in Time. I know that your readers are going to be glad that you've had Just in Time. We're going to drop links down below so you guys can find Just in Time, a memoir of faith and the fight for life. And it is something that you'll want to check out and let. I think one of the most inspiring things that we get handed to us as a gift is to hear the stories that come from our peers. And they can be memoirs, they can be fiction stories.
Absolutely.
They can be, if it touches you and it speaks to you, listen.
If it lifts your spirit.
If it lifts your spirit, listen to it. I'm not devout in any particular faith. Those of you that watch the show know that. I appreciate your faith more and more. I appreciate other people's faith because I am a firm believer that this universe, that our Creator, in that ethereal consciousness, speaks to us in a language that we best understand. And sometimes your story is the language that I'm going to best understand. And that's going to inspire me to do great things and to enjoy whatever the name is. This isn't my Just in Time, but this is my time. And it's been brought to you by all the people who have affected my life the way Justin affected yours. And so guys, appreciate every day, appreciate every breath in and every breath out. And check out this book, guys.
Can I throw one link in there?
Sure, please do.
Well, I know you'll put it in there. It's organdonor.gov. That's where you can go and register to be an organ donor. So organdonor.gov. I don't care if you go to my website, go there, become an organ donor. It will lift up your spirit, and that's what we're about here, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're about. Guys, we love what we do, and we love doing it with great creative artists like this. So please check out the links down below. Thank you to Famous Faces and Funnies, Josh Bauer, J. Bauer Art for all of the artwork that's on our set. It inspires me every day. Space Coast Comics, our great friends at Brevard Film and Talent, as well as Mommy and G Creations for all of our merchandising needs. Our good friends over at Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida. That's families helping other families right in their own communities. It's a great program. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for logging on and tuning in. Stay tuned in to see who we're hanging with next. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. That is really awesome.
Thank you.